Welcome to this episode of the Balancing Busy podcast. We are about to jump into a coaching call that I had with my group coaching membership growth getters. Now, this is a place for womenpreneurs who want to build a six-figure and beyond business, but they want to do it with boundaries. In other words, they want to have time to have an amazing life, great family, awesome marriage, and build an incredible business. We are all about the anti-hustle growth approach. We're going to be jumping in and you're going to hear me answer two questions that were asked in our group membership. The first question was asked by a member who wants to know how she gets herself back on track. She started her business with a goal, freedom. She wanted to have more time freedom, and yet that is the opposite of what she's feeling. She wants to know, how does she get on track? Where does she start? What does this look like? The second question is actually really, really closely connected. And that is when you lose the support of your spouse. So she started her business, she had her spouse's support, and somewhere along the way, it was lost. And this really comes down to two things that happen. And I'm going to share what those two things are. So let's go ahead, jump into this episode. I can't wait for you to listen in. And if you are interested in joining my group coaching membership, it is not open right now. Sorry, but you can get on the wait list to find out when it does open. And I'll give you a little hint. There may be a really, really incredible Black Friday sale. So you can get on the wait list by going to the website and looking up the group coaching, or just go ahead and go to gg/balancingbusy.com. And I will have a quick spot where you can drop in your name and email address so you can be on the list to find out when it's back. Okay, let's jump into this episode. Okay, I feel so far from what I originally wanted to create for myself, freedom. How do I get back on track? So the honest truth is we all start with this idea that we are going to start a business that's going to create more freedom. We're going to make some money. We're going to have more time. It's going to be amazing. And so often that is not what happens. If you've ever read The E-Myth by Michael Gerber, it's this idea that we don't learn how to be the business owner. We're being the employee, basically. We're being the person who's doing all the things. We're always in our business and not enough on our business, okay? And what's happening is that we're constantly just trading time for money, and we're making ourselves probably too available. And so instead of having this feeling of freedom, we feel more trapped than ever. We feel more connected, more like, oh my gosh, I'm always needed. I have to take care of them right this moment. So how do we fix that? This comes down to setting boundaries. It absolutely is about setting boundaries. Now, the first thing that I want you to do, the very first thing, is I want you to get crystal clear on your priorities. What is the most important thing to you? And I want you to ask yourself why. Like, what is the most important thing to me? This. Why? This. Why? This. Until you really get to either where you feel like you're crying, or you are like you've reached your yes, okay? Once you know what your priority is, then I want you to say, okay, how can my business bless my priority? For me, it absolutely comes down to my absolute priority is being a wife and a mother. Hands down, that is it. That is my priority. My priority is always going to be my family. That is my priority. So when I get crystal clear on that and I say, and here is the why, here is the why, here is the why, because I truly believe that if I were to fail at that, it would be my undoing. I'm not okay with that. And so knowing that, I then look and I say, okay, my absolute priority is my family. And my business brings me great joy. I love it. How can I make my business bless my family? Well, if my business is making some really good money, that would bless my family. But if my business is making really great money, but I can't step away from it, I can't be present for them, that's no longer a blessing, right? So I'm really getting clear. I'm understanding like, okay, but what would get in the way of this? So that means my business making money and my business not dominating, my business being controlled, being within boundaries is going to make my highest priority, which is my family, it's going to bless my family, right? So in understanding this, I can start to look and say, okay, what boundaries do I need to set for my business? And I got this completely wrong at the beginning. You guys know this. At the very beginning, I just hadn't figured this all out yet. And so, I wanted to have my business to bless my family because we really needed money because my husband was still in graduate school. And I worked really hard and I got my business to start producing that income and it was amazing. But my family, it was at that expense, like because I was so tied in, right? I couldn't get away. I had to be in it and I was constantly being pulled back to it. And so I wasn't present with what mattered most. So we need to get super, super clear on why did you start this business? What are your priorities? What matters most to you? Okay. First, get there. Once you've gotten there, what boundaries does your business need to have to keep these in a good, positive place? Because we are not just about being business owners here. We are womenpreneurs. We are wives and moms and caregivers and friends, and we are so many things. And we need to figure out how we do these both well. So boundaries need to be created for your business. And I'll share when I first really started realizing this and wanting to create boundaries for my own business, the first one was business hours. I was no longer going to be like, oh, I'm basically available 24/7. I'm, going to keep working. If someone says they need something, I get a voicemail or a text message or a call or a DM. Oh, I have to go take care of it right now. No, I do not. It can wait to the next day. That happened for hundreds of years in the business world. It is okay. There is no, life-threatening emergency. 99.9% of the time, it can wait. So I set business hours. Okay, these are when I'm going to work. These are my business hours. Now, that was a lot easier when my kids were in school all day, right? Like it was great. Okay, I would get my kids off on the bus, wave goodbye, and then I work and I would have, one day a week where I went into their classroom. So my hours were like, okay, I have all day school day, then half school day because I'm in their classroom, then all day school day, then half school day because that was like time to run errands and then an all day school day. So I set those hours. Now, before my kids were in school, I didn't have that luxury. So that meant I had to look for how is this going to work? And I had to really get intentional with prioritizing and doing the right things and not getting sidetracked. And it was like I had a couple mornings that I worked, a couple hours on certain days while they were in preschool and nap times, which, sometimes works, sometimes doesn't. And then I had a couple nights a week where it was like, okay, honey, it's your job to put the kids to bed right after dinner. You play with them, you give them baths, you get them to bed, and that's my work time. And I had to get over my guilt and I had to just help myself realize like, I get to have them just one on three, but me with them all the time. He doesn't because he's out. And so this is his chance to get that one-on-one time with them. And that's really special. And he deserves that. And I don't need to feel guilty. I need to know that this is a gift for them to bond with him also. And so I really had to talk myself through that because there was this like, oh my gosh, I can hear them, like I should be doing it. And I had to like get over that. And during that, and it was a season, right? It was just a season. During that time though, that was how I got some work chunks in. So figure out when. That's probably your first boundary is like, what are the work hours going to be? And then the next thing is, how can I build in some systems, some automation or some systems for these things that I'm doing over and over and over so that you're not having to reinvent everything again and again and again. Like, how can you just simplify? What's the simplest way to solve some of these things that you're doing all the time so that you can clean it up and make it simpler? What are some of the tasks that you're doing that really aren't serving you, that really aren't helping? They're not driving more profit. They're not bringing in more clients. They're just busy work. Can you get rid of some of that stuff? I highly encourage you to go back to the foundations and we'll make sure we link these in. but like go back to those foundation ones of getting organized, of getting more, um, increasing your productivity, those foundations. Those are going to help you get the right things in place and help you really start building those boundaries. I in one of those, I can't even remember which one, but I share how like I put my hours on the door so that everybody can see them. I come out for lunch for an hour every single day so that I can answer and take and help the kids and take care of anything, and we all eat lunch together. I say here's what time I'm going to be done so that they don't need to feel this constant like I don't know when she's going to come out, so I need to interrupt. They know when I'm coming out, so they know like unless it's an emergency, mom's got to get her stuff done. And then I give myself permission to not need to be in here all the time. It's perfectly okay to take whole days and be like, I'm not going to work on the business today. And guess what? It still keeps on moving with me taking time. It's funny because when I was at my worst, I really believed that like my entire business was going to crumble if I wasn't there every minute. And I look at that now and I'm like, really? I feel like it was this isn't the right word, but almost a pride thing. Like I wanted to believe that like I was needed so bad. I had to be, and I got so much of my identity was wrapped into my business. And we love our businesses. We're passionate about helping people. So it's natural. And yes, we are going to have some of our identity in our businesses. That's normal. We're human, but it's not all my identity. My greatest identity, it comes in being a mom and a wife and loving those two jobs. Like I love those roles that I get to play. And so I want to make sure I'm working really hard on those two and doing really well there too. And being okay with saying I can step away from my business and that is totally fine. And the way that we do that, if you're like, Leah, I cannot step away from my business right now, it will fall apart. Okay. That is a really good awareness to come to, because that tells us we need to work on building out some systems for you. We need to work on helping you get things a little bit more organized, a little more structured so that you can step away. And that means batching things, right? Like when you've batched out your social media, when you've batched out your blog and content, when you batch out creating your podcast episodes, right? Instead of being like, oh shoot, I need to create a blog post or a newsletter or a post today because it needs to go out today. You're doing those early and they're there. So that makes it easier to step away. When you have an assistant who can help you, that makes it easier to step away. When you set hours and you set expectations for your clients so they don't think you're available 24/7, that makes it easier to have those times when you can step away. So we started our businesses because we wanted to have freedom. We wanted to be able to create more amazing experiences for ourselves, for our family. And the way that you're going to do that is to build boundaries and systems into your business so that you are not needed 24/7, so that you are not needed every single day, so that you could walk away and know that everything's going to be okay, know that it's going to keep working, right? Like I was gone all last week. And all the posts were scheduled and everything, the newsletter was done and the team was taking care of things. And I knew that I could walk away and things would be taken care of. So just recognize that, going back to why did you start this? Now, what can we get in place to give you that freedom back? And if you want to go into this even more, let's chat more about this. So go into that form. I mean, if you want to be coached like personally on our next call, you and I talk about this even deeper, to any of you. Because this is something that's really hard. And each of us have a unique situation. We're coming at a unique time, right? Like it was a very different time when I had toddlers versus when I had kids in elementary school versus where I am now versus when it's summer versus when you've just built some really bad expectations with your clients and they're not respecting boundaries. Like how the heck, I've helped several women over the years and of clients of like, okay, there's no boundaries. I've made myself too available. How do I undo this? Those are things we can talk about too. So just so you know that is, I am here to help you because I want you to feel like you have the time for both. I mean, that's, getting to the core of what I would love to help every single woman here do. I want you to be making great money. I want to put money in your bank account, and I want it to happen in a way that feels really good, like that lights you up. I want you to feel lit up when you think about how you're doing as, in all those personal roles, wife, mom, friend, um, daughter, aunt, whatever, whatever those roles are, and in your business, that you feel confident, like, no, I know what I'm doing. I feel really good. Like the right things are happening in the right places. I know why I'm doing the things I'm doing and it's working. That is what we are doing. And every single month we're going to get closer and closer. And every single month we're going to keep working on this and help you scale and grow. And it's just going to get better and better. Let's jump into our very last question for today. So our last question is, my husband used to totally support my business, but now I don't feel that at all. It's really hard on me. What can I do? I see this over and over and over. And this is going to be a little bit of a tough love conversation. I needed it too once. So let me just tell you, like, you are not alone in any way. This is such a common thing that happens. So give yourself so much grace. Do not beat yourself up, but let me just get really, really clear and to the point of what happened. Most likely, when you first started your business, you were excited, you were optimistic, you were positive, and you shared, here's what could be. Okay? And it seemed pretty amazing. You were painting a picture that seemed awesome, and you were so excited, and like, little things would happen, and you'd share the wins, that it was all these good things. I'm going to guess that if things have gone negative and your spouse is not supporting anymore, that you forgot to stop talking about the good. That two things happened. Thing number one, you started only sharing the negative. You're talking about, everything that's bad in your business, every client that's hard, every problem that you're dealing with. Oh my gosh, this and this and this and this. And so they're seeing all the stress, all the negativity, all the angst, right? That's what you're sharing with them. And then second, that beautiful picture that you painted, you don't have the boundaries. This is awesome. These connect so perfectly with our last discussion, our last question, because the boundaries aren't there. They're feeling neglected. They're feeling like they come second, that they're on the back burner, right? And probably you, if we're really getting to it, you're not doing what you say you're going to do. And I was so guilty of this. Like, I am going to confess right now. I can't tell you how many times I said, just give me 30 minutes. Hours later, oh yeah, I'll come to bed. I just need to finish this one thing. And he would fall asleep by himself because hours had gone by. I've shared this before, but I remember in when this was happening in that house that we lived in, my office was kind of kitty corner to our master bedroom. And so my office door like looked straight into our bedroom, and then and I could see our bed. And so I remember he'd be like, do you want to watch a show? Do you want to watch a movie? And I'd be like, oh yeah, that sounds great. Just let me finish this. And I would go into the office and I would look back and I'd be like, oh good, he's still like watching ESPN or something, right? Like he's still doing something, reading a book, whatever, still waiting. And then I'd look back and I'd be like, oh good, I can get a little more done. Oh good, I can get a little more done. And then I would look back and he'd fallen asleep. And that happened over and over and over. And I remember this moment where I thought, I had this thought come to me, which was, what if he stopped waiting for you? And I was like, oh my gosh, this is not okay. I would be devastated, right? Like, why is it okay for me? And I would be devastated if he did that to me, right? Like, but I can, because, well, I'm working on my dream. We need to do what we say we're going to do. If you tell your kids you're going to be done at this time, if you tell your spouse you're going to be done at this time, then you need to be done. If you say you're available, you need to be available. If you're with them, be with them. My husband tells our kids all the time, and I love this, and we say this in our family. If your cell phone is up, you are not really there. So we talk about this, and we either have cell phone down, so you're not seeing if it lights up, or it's not even there. Like, you're putting it in your bag, you're putting it in a drawer, you're putting it in another room. So look for, how do I do a better job truly being present and being there when I say I'm going to be there? So if you are struggling with friends, family, spouse, not seeming to support you anymore, I want you to check, am I only sharing the negative? Have I allowed my business to take over where I'm not fully present and there when I should be? And am I not doing what I say I'm going to do? When I say I'm going to be there, am I not fulfilling my commitment? Do what you say you're going to do. I mean, those are words to live by in every single situation, right? If you say you're going to do it, do it. Like, your word is your bond. do what you say you're going to do. If you say you're going to be done at a certain time, be done. And yeah, it sucks when you're like, crap, I didn't finish it. I didn't give myself enough time. It does. It's hard. But what's more important? Who matters more, right? Like in the grand scheme, in the end of it, why are you doing all this? It's for them, right? It's for the experiences with them. So we need to make sure we keep those boundaries, and we remember that, and we keep that in its proper perspective, right? First things first, as Covey would have said.
Well, you just finished hearing me answer those questions within our group coaching membership. I hope it was valuable and you really got some insights that you can take into your own business and life right away. I was thinking about, when you're listening to me in group coaching form, oh my goodness, I talk really fast. I get excited. So I always listen to everything on 1.5 or 2.0 speed, but I bet that's not even possible with me. I just speak too quickly. You probably have to slow me down. I don't know, but I hope it was valuable. And I wanted to just take a minute and say, if it was valuable, will you please leave a review wherever you listen to the podcast? I know that's not an easy ask, especially if you're listening on Apple, because they make it so dang tricky to figure out how to leave a review. Just go to my podcast page. Well, go to on Apple, and then keep scrolling down. As you scroll down, you'll find a place where you can leave the stars, and then you can leave a review. And I wanted to take a moment and read this review that was left recently on Apple Podcast. And it was from Willa B46. This is an absolute must. This podcast helps me with the issues I deal with every week and helps me manage so that I can improve my relationships, health, and earning power. Thank you so much for that review. I would love to read yours next. So please take a moment and leave your 5-star review and let everybody know how this podcast can help them. Okay, that's it for this episode. Have an amazing week. Remember, you are amazing. This is possible, and it absolutely is your turn.